So thanks again. A lot of things happening on the Women in AI side. And again, really pleased and happy to support this initiative and to be with you today. Very briefly, I will introduce myself, then I will take you through the most important part, which is why your CV is important. What are the most common mistakes, I would say, made by recent graduates, and some of the ways I would say to avoid those mistakes and to stand out. About myself, so my name is Mehdi, was born and raised in Algeria, and then I moved to France when I was 23, lived for 10 years then, and then moved to Dubai, UAE. I always involved in the BI, I would say, and performance management space, and I recently joined 𝗖𝗂𝘁𝗃𝗃, I think it was 1.5 years back, where I started my career in AI. So first finding, you don't necessarily have to be a data scientist in order to work in AI, but of course it helps, and I'm pretty sure, all of you will have more credits and more, I would say, benefits to definitely leverage your existing, your credentials and definitely your degrees. It's just about the polish you will put on top of this, i.e. your CV. And that's just to echo on what we will say in a few minutes. So basically, all of you have fantastic skills, degrees, of course, diplomas, experience, even if it's not like real or at that stage, not work experience, but it can be like academic projects, volunteering, etc. And of course, you have your personality, which makes you unique. The objective, obviously, is to land a job, probably your dream job, or even like an intermediate one, which will take you closer to your long-term objective. And of course, competition is fierce, hard. One of the main challenges faced by graduates is having limited work experience, and of course, geo-specificities, etc., visas in some cases, or just like acting with specific codes and behaviors which are not necessarily the ones relevant to the market you are trying to land a job. I'm saying closer because in reality, you will not, and this is the first finding I would like to highlight, you will not get a job thanks to your CV. The CV will just help you to pass the first filter, the first step, which is landing interviews and getting to the interview round, where you will be able to differentiate yourselves thanks to your skills, experience, personality, etc. So I'm hearing quite often, and I'm sorry to highlight that, but I'm hearing quite often, I sent my CV, I'm not getting the job. This is not the reality. No one will get the job thanks to the CV. The CV is just a tool again. It's just, think about it like your flagship, where you will be highlighting some key achievements, skills, etc., just to pass to the next step, which is again the interview. Now, the challenge is the CV will not convert into a job for sure, but it can definitely be a roadblocker. And imagine if you have a low converting CV, meaning a CV which is not taking you to the interviews. In reality, the result, the outcome of this will be the same as being stuck in the competition, or like addressing specific jobs, etc., or positioning yourself on specific jobs without having the right geo codes. Both will take you to this, bin, to the trash. Take your CV to the trash. And this is what we want to avoid. What we want to avoid, or what I will try to share in the next couple of minutes, is key factors, I would not say success factors, but kind of tricks, which will help you to stand out, which will help your CV to stand out, to stay on top of the wave, and not necessarily take you with the crowd, but being like a differentiated, I would say, application. So again, CV is not converting like your application into jobs, but the CV for sure may take you to this trash bin. And what we are trying to do here is to get to the point where you will have a high converting CV, i.e. a CV which will make you passing to the interview process. So some of the most common mistakes actually graduates are doing with their CV. I'm putting here an example on the right side. The aim is CV, and we can here clearly spot a few things. it might be too short, or maybe it's not about being in 1 page or 2 pages, and I will come back to this point later. But what I don't see here is the real experience, the achievements. Plus, I see education at the top. So meaning the person is positioning herself as a graduate, which is not bad, but this is probably not the message you want to convey, to the recruiter. You might want to say, I'm a young professional, instead of saying I'm a young graduate. And it's in terms of, or actually the way you will write your CV and present it will give this different message or convey this different message to the recruiter. Second thing, the title. I see graduate. And again, this is not helping the recruiter to identify for which role you might be a good fit on. Some often, the CVs are too generic. And I can understand why. I mean, at the beginning, we are not necessarily trained to this exercise, like drafting your CV. So it's about taking, a template, adapting, adding your vocabulary, etc. Some often slipping into some woolly vocabulary or dual language. Probably unnecessary details, lacking keywords. And this is something we will try to avoid. We want a CV which will make you unique. We want a CV which will inform the recruiter about your specific skills, your specific expertise, although you are a young professional or / recent. A few additional points: poor formatting. In this case, obviously, it's not the case for email CV, but still, we will see in a few minutes that this might be too designed or too visual, and I will elaborate on this in a few minutes. Resumes or file format and title, which are probably not matching the role, and I will come back again to this point. Typos, grammatical mistakes, those are definitely showstoppers. And probably the most important thing, and I will repeat this again and again and again, please, please, please don't apply this with the same CVs for all the roles and jobs. Actually, if you really need to if you really expect to convert your applications into interviews and ultimately into jobs, please give it time. Give every single application the time it deserves. So don't just copy paste the CV and share it blindly, like across your network or for many applications. But again, I will elaborate on this in a few minutes. So how to stand out and how to make this fantastic and highly converting CV. First thing, and might sound like a no-brainer, but please use the right title and file name. On the left side, and I'm not sure if it's zoom enough or not, but I will read it out loud for you. The first CV is saying Sam Smith. The second one is the name, Gloria. Sorry, the first CV is saying CV Sam Smith. The second one is just the name, Gloria. And the third one is saying curriculum vitae. At the end, this is not informative. Of course, we know that it's a CV, right? And we know that anyways, the CV will have your name. And your name is probably the most important, probably not yet, the most important information. So in the dons, I would say, please do not use generic titles like CV, resume, etc. No, don't necessarily highlight your name as the most important thing, because when the recruiter is receiving or your CV in his inbox or collecting the CVs, he doesn't know you yet. So simple example, imagine if he or she is printing your CV, putting it on the desk, go to grab a coffee, and coming back. He was hiring you for the role of data scientist, for example, right? Or AI engineer. But because she doesn't know your name, he will not necessarily remember that, okay, Mehdi CV or Fuzia CV is the most relevant one for this role. So that's why the title should be the job role you are applying for. And there is some very simple rules. If you are applying for an existing role or job, please put the exact same job title in your CV as a title. If it's software engineer, put software engineer. AI engineer, data science, put data science, etc. If you are applying, if you are not necessarily applying for a role, if you are just, sharing as a global, application or candidature into a company, into your dream company, for example, please do some benchmark on LinkedIn. Try to identify people in a similar position or in the position / role you might be tempted to apply, and just, again, copy paste from that exact job title. At the end, what we want to convey as a message is, we know, Mr. Recruiter, your organization. We know exactly how you call it. You call it data scientist, you call it data engineer. I mean, of course, those are different positions, but at the end, we should speak the same language and we should make the recruiter's life easier. And with that said, I will highlight also the attachment, the file name. Those are bad examples. My CV final, my CV woman in AI, I mean, meaning meant to apply for woman in AI, CV Mehdi, CV woman in AI final 003, etc. Those are bad names. Because at the end, what we want to do again, think about the recruiter who receives maybe 100 of applications, 100 of different CVs. We want to stand out, right? So we want the recruiter to open his inbox / the download, folder on his machine, and to spot exactly in like 3 seconds, literally, or being able to search in 3 seconds, the CV received a few minutes ago, exactly for a specific role. For example, data scientist. So if it's data scientist, you will put data scientist. If it's NLP engineer, you will put NLP engineer, and so on and so forth. The idea again here is to make first the recruiter's life easier, second, save time, and third, speak the same language. Think about it like referencing, like keywords in Google. It's the exact same thing here, but it's about your CV title / headline / the file number. Simple trick, but again, highly converting, because you will not imagine how many CVs are just rejected because the recruiter is not able to match them with the right role, actually the one you applied for, or he's not able to find again the CV he opened 10 minutes before going for a coffee, or simply before going into an urgent meeting with his manager. That's one thing. Second one, and I hope it's clear, otherwise please feel free to drop us some questions in the chat. Second one, the format. Rule of thumbs. Number one, a recruiter will spend an average of 7 seconds, 07, literally, seconds, in scanning your resume. That's one. Second, because he or she receives dozens and probably hundreds of applications, he's not scanning it manually. He's relying on something called the ATS. Think about it like a robot who is in charge of scanning your CV. Actually, it's automated tracking systems. And the third one, because we are humans, we have our own way to read a CV, or to read the document actually. And it's obviously top right, probably like from the left to the right, and we focus on the headers, etc. We never read, or we most likely focus on the first third of the page. So this is important to know, because at the end, if you don't respect those standards, so typically a CV which can pass the ATS filter, a CV which is matching with, I would say, the way a human is behaving and reading a document, and if you don't put yourself and put your document in this context of maximum of 7 seconds per CV, then at some point the recruiter will be bored, or he will just skip your CV because you are not in those. So what are those standards again? First, please, I would argue to privileging layout over deliverability. What I mean by that is a CV, especially those highly, visual templates, looks really good. I know, 2 columns, layer on the left side, or column on the left side, colors, even some very advanced design, etc. But again, those are not deliverable. Simply the reason why is, and the problem is, again, it's an ATS, it's a robot. A robot cannot read, for example, in very advanced forms of CVs. He cannot read multiple columns, he reads only the first column. So what you definitely want to avoid is that the ATS will be reading and extracting your experience, the keywords, etc., only for the third of your document or of your CV. So again, please, layout and highly visual CVs can sound like a good idea, but I would please ask you to, if you want to start from a template, please search on Google about templates which are ATS compatible. That's one. Second, Please avoid like cluttered look and feel, like long sentences, multiple columns, very little word spaces, because this is not really handy when it comes to reading and scanning from human. Of course, I was mentioning ATS at the beginning, but overall, it's meant to pass the robot, the ATS filter, and being read by a human, right? So make the human life easier again, and give him a CV in a proper, simple, but clear layout, fonts, etc. Third one, and I know a lot of you heard this urban legend about a CV should be one page. Please forget this. If your experience, the content, if what you have to say, what you have to highlight deserves 2 pages, please put it in 2 pages. I'm not pushing towards like the 5 pages resume, etc. And probably you will like put too many unnecessary details at that stage. Again, keep some for the interviews, obviously. The CV is just the key, if you remember, the key to the vote, the key to the interview, to pass from the filtering to the interview stage. But again, don't force fitting in like 1 page or like necessarily extending to too many pages. So give it the space, the volume, the length it deserves. Also, please highlight and prioritize. We all have reading patterns. For example, there is the F pattern, where we read the title of the document at the center, and then we go left. We read like obviously from left to right if it's in English, and then we go back to the beginning of the line and we read again, etc. from left to right. So think about those reading tendencies, patterns, and actually you can see it here when it's highlighted, in green. Put the maximum of important information at the top and on the left. So for instance, your job title, like for the different experiences, should not be on the right side, because the most important thing you want to tell is, I was a data scientist already. And one of the common mistakes is to put on the left side the dates and on the right side the job. Okay, but imagine if he's scanning the dates, he or she is scanning the dates, he will see only 6-month experience and he will say, you know what, done, it's not enough. While if you put the role, the role title first, it's catching, and he or she might be tempted to read the rest of the line. Simple, but actually human behavior. We are more or less all the same when it comes to reading patterns, reading tendencies. Even if you speak Arabic or English or whatever, we all read the same way when it comes obviously to a common language, in this case, English. So please, please, please consider those reading patterns when you structure your CV. Third point, please highlight and put your experience at the center of your resume. What I mean by that, and you see here an example, you see a no-go example. You see education before work experience, or not even work experience, before experience. Please don't put the education first. I know you spent time like working to get graduated, to get this exceptional degree. But again, you are not your degree. You are not the diploma. A recruiter will never hire you because you have a degree. He will hire you because he or she believes that you will be able to achieve a job, a professional job. So your diploma, your degree is a key again. It's a mean. It's not the result. The result will be what you can deliver in a job position. So by putting your education first, you are still saying, or the message you are conveying is, hey, I'm a junior, I don't know, I'm not yet a professional. While the message we want to convey is, hey, I'm a young professional. So definitely, please don't emphasize too much on your education. Don't put too many content like the courses, etc., grades. I mean, there is obviously a minimum you should keep, but the central place in your resume, or the center of gravity of your resume, should not be the education. It should be the experience. And I'm saying experience with the big E because I would definitely encourage you to do not neglect the other experience. Academic projects, university clubs, volunteering, even sports, because all these can highlight obviously technical skills. Like, of course, if you did some or completed academic projects, then you have some data science, AI, machine learning knowledge and skills. This is obviously, obvious. But on the other hand, think about sports. I was like leading a team or I was the leader of my team is in basketball or volleyball. Okay, the soft skills behind is team spirit. Or actually, I was maybe the vice champion when it comes to CrossFit, etc., or any kind of individual sport. Okay, meaning you know what is performance. You know exactly what it takes to be a top achiever. Those are the soft skills a recruiter would like to see. And that's why please don't underestimate all kind of experiences you had, especially you are at the early stage of your career. So I know you will not all have like years of, internships, etc., especially in the field you are applying for or you are aiming to work with. So again, the workaround is to highlight the other experience. And please, one very common mistake I see, please put it in a chronological order, descending. So don't put it, in ascending. So please put the most recent experience. Back to the 7 seconds example. Imagine I'm a recruiter. I get a CV and the first experience, we are in 2023, the first experience I see there is 2019, which is probably the candidate first internship. But because he or she put the CV in a chronological ascending way, he or she meant to put 2019, 20, and the different internships. I have only 7 seconds. I know it's sad, but what I will do, I will just look to the first line. First time he or she worked, it was in 2019, and I reject him or her. Again, it's too bad, it's sad. That's the reality. That's how performance is measured. It's not even about performance, it's about to achieve the job, the recruiter should not spend more than 10 seconds or 7 seconds scanning each CV. So make again his or her life easier, and please consider all those small things. So in the don'ts, I would recommend putting the achievements first and the experience first. Again, position yourself as a young professional, not a student anymore. Be specific, focus on your experiences, or actually I should say achievements, and I'll come back to the difference in a few seconds. And put in bold in the center at the top of your CV, what is relevant. If you have so many academic projects, university clubs, volunteering, sports, etc. experiences, please put what is relevant directly, meaning in the same field, or indirectly, meaning serving this application or the future role with some soft skills or with some skills which can be matched with the job you are applying. Analytical skills, again, team playing, leadership, managing a budget, managing timelines, working under constraints, etc. And please focus on the first third of the page. We are humans. In 7 seconds, we cannot scan or read in details more than a third of a page. And this is actually where the recruiter will focus. So please, again, make his or her life easier and do a service actually for yourself. Give him exactly what he or she is looking for when he is scanning the CV. One more, please use keywords and action terms. Keywords are standards across the market, okay? So avoid obviously the acronyms, especially the internal ones. Like if you work in a company where they use acronyms specific to their departments or the way they mention some departments, etc., like the DA for data analytics, for example, department. In some other cases, it will be data department. Some other cases, it will be advanced analytics. Avoid acronyms. Use standard and industry keywords. I'm not asking you or encourage you about doing keyword stuffing. Put just the minimal you need to highlight that you know the role, you know the industry, you know the corporate role, you know exactly when someone will say natural language processing, or when someone will say feature engineering, when someone will say modeling, training, etc. They should realize and understand that you know exactly the right time to use each of those words. But because you are not in an interview, they cannot guess. So what will speak for you is the way you use those words in the CV. We don't want to put it like, buzzwords and using, or again, doing keyword stuffing. We want to use the right word at the right time. And similarly for the action verbs. When you influenced, when you maximized, when you progressed, when you optimized, when you boosted, when you led, please say it. Don't use the passive voice. By passive voice, I mean, and there is a small trick here, well, implemented, blah, blah, or blah, blah, blah has been implemented. If I can add by zombies or anything else at the end of the sentence, this is passive voice, and we don't want this in your CV. Why? Because it's not showing that you managed to get this thing done, meaning it's not showing or highlighting that this is your achievement. We don't want you to list your missions. We don't want you to list what is in the job description. We all know the job description for a data scientist. We want to know exactly your achievements, your specific achievements during those 6 months of internship, what you managed to achieve, what you managed to convert during the 6 months. So that's why it's important to highlight on achievements, keywords, and action. So what you completed, not why they hired you for. So into those, or as part of the tricks, please scan the job ad, the one you are applying for, extract the important keywords from there, and adapt your CV. Again, not keyword stuffing, but in case you are saying, for example, data and analytics while they use advanced analytics, or why they say maybe they say data science, machine learning, DSML, while you say advanced analytics, please use their wording. Again, we want to give the impression that you did the research. It's not even the impression, you did the research. You spent time tailoring your application, your CV for that job position. So the recruiter will value this. He or she will value the time you spend in tailoring your application and yours. Find the right balance, obviously. Keywords, but only in context. No need, again, to do keyword stuffing, but definitely use the keywords and use action verbs. And you can Google, obviously, or I think I added at the end of this presentation a link to the most powerful keywords you can use in your CV. One more, and I think that's the last one, not sure, but please highlight your achievements. So back to my previous point, please, what we want to see is what you realize, what we have been able to achieve during the X month internship experience, volunteering experience, whatever, sport experience like a medal, recall, whatever. So please don't list your responsibilities. We know what are the responsibilities for a data scientist. Okay, you can say because I was granted senior responsibilities while I was intern, etc. It's worth highlighting those responsibilities. But again, the best way to highlight is via the achievement. You manage the team or you supervise the work of another intern, fine. Don't say my responsibility was to simply, let's say, manage a project. Say the size of the project, how many people, use relevant KPIs, the time, the time it took you for that project, number of people involved, potentially the budget, the return on investment, the money saved thanks to the use case you deployed, or vice versa, the revenue you've been able to, maybe not the value itself, because we don't want to share confidential information, and that's also one of the don'ts I will share here. But use relevant yet not confidential informations in order to highlight your achievement. And it can be many things: expressed in time, expressed in number of people, expressed in money, dollar figures, the dirhams, whatever, euros. So this will give a sense of expertise actually to the hiring manager or to the recruiter, because he or she will realize that you know what you are talking about. Second, it means you took the time to do a post-use case, post-internship, post-project analysis, and to extract those KPIs, to value your work, to assess actually your work. And this is important because it's part, of the loop to actually analyze the post-project or post-experience. And finally, this will give them confidence and map actually the KPIs you will be using to the key performance indicators you will be using to your skills. If you say I'm an analytical person, we should see it in terms of achievements and numbers in your CV. If you say I'm a leader, although you are 22 years old, what better way to show this via a team sports, for example? again, I was leading my football or my basketball or volleyball team. Then we say, okay, indeed, he or she was a leader. Or I was leading a chapter for women in AI. Or I was actually leading, I don't know, a group, study group as part of university, etc. University curriculum, etc. So those are ways to highlight those specific skills. And you need to put this in context. As I said earlier, even if it's not with professional experience, like sport, academic projects, etc., or volunteering, and also map this to KPIs and speak in numbers. Please quantify your achievements. Finally, the quality over quantity. Okay, might be tempted to send 100 applications. I quite often hear that even from friends nowadays. They're like, I don't get it. I spent the weekend applying. I sent 100 applications and no one is responding. Yes, the problem is that if you send 100 applications with the same CV, this is probably not converting and this is not getting you anywhere because it's about quantity, not quality. Second one, and a question I'm getting quite frequently, do you have a good template? Okay, template is a good starting point, but you should master your CV. You should own it. And finally, sharing an outdated CV, like something you have in your folders or on your Google Drive, and you will be just sending over and over and over to recruiters simply because you don't put the necessary effort or investment in terms of time actually to work on this CV. So I would really recommend to work on quality applications. Spend some time benchmarking, understanding your industry, the company you are applying for, potentially the hiring manager if you can find the information. And on LinkedIn, obviously, you will be able to identify the head of data science or the manager actually for the data science, machine learning, AI team, etc. Please spend time understanding where those people came from, what's their career path, etc. Because you will be able in the CV, and what I'm saying is also valid for the interviews, you will be able to highlight actually some information you have in your pocket, you have as part of your experience. But if you don't spend time researching, you will never figure out what will ring a bell or not on the recruiter/hiring managers. Of course, you need a version, an up-to-date version, please, of your CV. You can have a master template like yours, the standard one. But again, depending on where you are applying, duplicate the file, just copy paste, remove some experiences, highlight some others, probably like put more emphasis on some experiences, use different KPIs, keywords. If it's, I'm just saying something stupid here, if it's an NLP, internship or job, and if you did like NLP in different roles, different internships, okay, put the emphasis and highlight the NLP experience. It doesn't mean you don't know how to do something else. But again, the CV is the key to unlock the path to the interview. So in the interview, you will be able to say I did many, many other things. But if they are putting the emphasis on the NLP, okay, give them NLP in the CV. I mean, again, do not fabricate experiences and achievements, but just derive from your master CV what is relevant, build a specific application or a CV specific to that application, to that role you are targeting. And that's how you will not be able anymore to do 100 applications during one weekend, because you will spend definitely more time and you will give more time to each application. But again, quality over quantity. And the learning curve. Test, improve, see what works, what is not. Maybe people are not reacting to a specific template, to a specific CV, to specific wording. You will realize this, especially when you will go in more and more interviews. If same questions are coming back specifically on the same experience, option A, either no one is reading this experience, but there is low chances. Option B, it's not written in a relevant / easy to understand way. And then you need to rephrase it to probably work on that specific. So that's it from my side. Again, and to wrap up in 3 points. Of course, there is no silver bullet, or at least this is not a silver bullet, what I shared with you. So take the concepts, take what on a high level, I would say, or even some tricks, what I shared with you, but adapt it. So it's about the key ideas are there, but of course, you need to adapt it depending on your geo, your role, your CV, and your experiences. Actually, we are all different in terms of experiences, achievements, etc. So take the high-level concepts and please work on adapting this to your context. Talking about adapting, adapt it to your industry, to your geo, to your context. There is no one size fits all. So again, it's not magic, and it's not like apply this and it will work, but there is some content here, and by the way, it's not my content. I'm just here leveraging and kind of aggregating for you some things I read here and there from contributors when it comes to hiring, career management, etc. So again, put it in your specific context and adapt it, and master actually the concepts in order to be able to challenge yourself. For every single application, every new CV you will write, challenge yourself and ask questions. Is the recruiter willing to hear this or to read this? He will she be spending 7 seconds. Okay, is this CV standing out for someone who will dedicate 7 seconds? Finally, it's your CV, own it. There is no magic template. There is no like secret formula or again, silver bullet. At the end, you need to spend time working on your CV. And if you own it, if you know exactly each line and why you are putting A instead of B because you want to convey XYZ message, then for sure you will succeed because you are putting an effort and you are investing. Of course, you will get access to the recording, and that's why we put here at the end some additional resources. Grammarly, which is just a famous website when it comes to fixing typos and actually grammar mistakes. It's important because this is the first showstopper for a hiring manager. We put here an ATS resume preview. This will help you to scan your resume and see how an ATS is parsing it and is extracting information from it. So you will, in few clicks, you will see if your CV is moving to the next step, which is on the human desk, or if it's stopping at the ATS filter. I mentioned earlier skills and KPIs. You can use LinkedIn research in order to identify the most in-demand skills for for each year, 2023 in this case. The idea again is not to create or fabricate or lie on your skills, but simply emphasizing and mapping your experience with some of those skills. And if actually, and I'm sure a lot of you have skills who are matching with this list, so then the only remaining piece here is to highlight. Finally, I put here a list of hard-hitting action verbs you should use for your resumes. I know probably culturally you will not be comfortable to say, I overachieved, I improved, I transformed, I don't know, again, overachieved. But actually, that's what the recruiter wants to see. Your exact performance. Don't lie, because at the end they will know it. But again, if this is your achievement, please put it in the right way and highlight it as it deserves to. That's what I had to share. Back to you, Fuzia, for a wrap-up. And again, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Mehdi. It's such a great, valuable amount of information that you just gave, and I'm sure that the new graduate will benefit from it tremendously. Thank you so much again for your time, and thank you also for supporting our mission of Women in AI. You've been a great support for us, and you've been a great inspiration.